Hi everyone, George here, and I'm going to bring you another um, AR for scenario ASL scenario 126, Commando Schenke. Um, so this is an interesting scenario because it utilizes board one that has been uh, in the ASL collection since the inception of the game, as you can see here. And the date that it occurs is the 28th of June 1941, and it's in the Paja, Latvia. I massacred the name. And it is an actual location in Latvia. And the two antagonists are, of course, the Soviets versus the Germans. And the Soviets are the defenders. So there is the elements of the Pajak garrison versus elements of the 505 Infantry Regiment. And setting up separately, as per the SSR, are elements of the Kriegsmarine Sturmtilung 530. And of course, the ELR for the Germans is much higher than the Soviets. So let's get right into the crux of the matter. All right, so the German player starts out first, and here are the setup lines, so we can zoom into this picture. And we can see how each player set up. Now, my principal opponents in this game was my principal opponent in this game was Dennis, and we each played each side, and in both cases the Germans won. Now, in this particular scenario, I did play the Germans, and my initial thoughts was to have a fire group here that directed fire and tried to eliminate the Soviets on top, while bringing the engineers, or the Kriegsmarine Sturmtilbach. God, did I ever massacre. Anyway, bringing the assault engineers in this fashion, so they would house skip, and the axis of the assault would be along this line here, while the regular infantry, with their exorbitant firepower, would form fire groups for eliminating the concealment stacks here. Now, unbeknown to me at the time, Dennis opted for a forward defense. So unwittingly, I was able to combine enough firepower to get rid of all the concealments, expose where the real infantry was, and facilitate the axis of advance. And as you can see here, I always notoriously perform a fire group with two 9-1 leaders, in which case I can benefit of the fire group and use the negative modifier. So this is how it was at the start of the game. You can see our snipers are set up. German turn one, rather this was set up. Yep, it's set up. All right, this was at setup. Let's go on to the next slide, which would probably be the end of German turn one. By the end of German turn one, you can see that the fire groups here had success in routing the Russian player, right, here as well. And we're on the crux of advancing, of course. At this point, this unit opened up to try to prevent any German advance, but it was not that successful. These fellows were ineffective, but they got to conceal. All right, let's continue. Let's see. Turn 1A. Let's go to turn. Let's see. Come on. There we go. Turn 1B. So after the German, actually the Russian turn one, this powerful fire group exposed itself. So we have a squad and a medium machine gun with the 8-1 most powerful leader there covering this path. But again, when you compare this fire group's firepower to this fire group here, the odds are in favor of the Germans. Now, if we look at go back to the raw data, the Germans won this 84 times versus 77 for the Russians, but the archive record has it even. I would suggest that if you play this game, do not forget, like we did, that the 838s have a smoke exponent of 3, not 5, because the SSF file has the assault engineers with an exponent of 5. And I would give the balance to the Russian player, okay? Now, let's go back to the action. So, yeah, I think that you can see here that the Russian defense is slowly being routed by the Germans. They're in trouble, and the German firepower is simply too superior to the Russians to hold anybody back. Okay, let's go to turn 2A. All right, 2A, Germans again. So this is just a bit of a consolidation of power. They regroup. We put some troops on level 1, spread them out. So now if, for example, the Russian player wants to cause some damage to the German flanks, he'll have to fire 2 different targets within the same hex, dividing his firepower in half. As I previously stated, this powerhouse of fire group did not last long. The Germans managed to break and rout the leader and the multi-man counter, leaving the MMG behind. And again, this building only offers a +2 DRM as opposed to a +3 for, or actually +4 for the factory, the victory objective. All right, turn 2B. Not much has changed. There was some concealment gains. They reoccupied the position of the heavy machine gun, medium machine gun, but still the Germans are in a position and poised to strike at the Russian defenders with virtually little or no resistance. Turn 3A. Okay, after turn 3A, the German player managed to unconceal a lot of units and advance closer to the objective. Another little mistake we've done here, these are not supposed to be level 2 buildings, they're supposed to be level 1, ground and level 1. But we quickly corrected that in the course of playing the scenario, which again was very interesting. And in squad leader, ASL, what you see, it may not be what you get. As you can see, the Russian concealed units may or may not be real units. But based on my opponent's reaction, I can tell that, hey, there are not too many units left, and now is the time to thrust an assault. So let's see what happens again. Turn 3B. In terms of a Russian defense, we still have some units in important places, but in Anatov, the 8-1 leader has managed to bounce back. But in terms of casualties, as you can see here, the intelligence behind the casualty position is that the casualty rate, the attrition rate for the Russian forces is enormous. So this alone should give you, as the German player, an indicator that, hey, you have to push forward and meet your objective, which is to capture this fortified building. All right, let's go to 4A. 4A, we're finally surrounded the Russian player. we have practically encircled them. The flanks are non-existent. And let's see if there's another turn. I think at this time, my opponent conceded the game. Yep, there's no other picture to be had. Obviously, based on the casualty rate and the prisoners, the amount of prisoners we took, you can safely bet that the strategy did not work. So the strategy that was used by the Russian player here was a forward defense. I'm not too sure if skulking was used, I don't recall. But even if you skulk, if the German player presses the attack, that too can lead to a disaster. So what I would recommend if you're playing with the as a Russian player, and I lost as a Russian as well, is opt for the balance. Number one. Number two, use concealment to the best of your advantage. This is a fortified building, and we may have forgot about mopping up, or it didn't come into play because at one point or another, your opponent becomes despondent, says, "Okay, I concealed the game, and let's move on to another game." Right? That's great. So where I was going with this, yeah, leave a minimal amount of real forces up front. Use concealment to the best of your advantage. Make sure you have positioned your Soviet forces in a way that they can either counterattack or they can route to the fortified building and still pose a threat to the German player. So that's pretty much it. On a closing note, I apologize for not posting a video earlier. I am playing, despite COVID, I am playing with a lot of great opponents. Shout out to Mark Venety and Dennis Freeberg, Ken Rutkowski, and Ala Chabot, great players. I am playing. COVID in terms of gameplay has been a bit of a mixed blessing because I can meet opponents online and play using Vassal, VASL, and it's great. I hope to do some live gameplay when this crisis ends. I don't buy any excuse for anyone not to play. Playing with opponents has its advantages and disadvantages, especially if they like to flip the game, I suppose, the game board. And with these games, you know that you can't afford that. They're an investment and a half. They're very expensive, and they're collectible items as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I hope to do some live gameplay when this crisis is over. I am enjoying playing. I guess I enjoy playing more than doing AARs because it's pretty difficult to do an AAR. And if you have any comments or you'd like to see any changes to the video format, please let me know. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Take care.